Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Full Fat Spoiler Chat, the show in which we, the folks from the teams of Nerd Caliber, get together and talk about a recent piece of nerdy entertainment, and we talk about it in depth about what worked, what didn't work, what was good, what was bad, what they tried and failed, what they tried and succeeded, what the messages, tones, themes, all of that sort of stuff, which means we have to talk about it with all the spoilers fully enabled. Tonight, we are talking about Castlevania Season 4, the final season. It might be a spoiler, but that news is out there. Yes, all the vampire teeth. And that means if you have not seen Castlevania Season 4 and you do not want it spoiled, you should probably watch something else. If you have seen it, or if you don't mind spoilers, feel free to stay, hang around, comment. Oh, I see comments already. Comment on what you think about the show, what you think about our opinions, etc., so on and so on. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber. I'm first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer. I am Burley_adopter on the Twitters and some other places as a tech journalist. And joining me tonight, since he's sipping, we'll skip over him and go to him last. So first is the person with the coolest shirt for sure on this show right now. Christina, introduce yourself if you would.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm Chocobo Butt. You can find me at Chocobo Butt on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, literally everything, Twitch, whatever. And I am one of the cosplay interviewers for Nerd Caliber, and sometimes I write when I feel like it.
Great
Excellent.
stuff.
Mr. Byron, if you would.
Hi guys, Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0, contributing writer, social media, and a bunch of other capacities within the site. I'm also on various facets of social media. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I even have a LinkedIn for some reason. um, and lately I've been on YouTube like a lot. I got some spicy topics I just posted this week. If you want to check them out, you can find me at Byron D0. That's BYRONDZERO. All one word. Look for the One Piece style yin yang skull with the fedora. It's a good time.
Cool beans. All right, and we got a couple of people in the chats already. Dante Hamil, welcome to the show. Rerum Trading, welcome to the show. This is probably a reference to something that I am not a big enough fan of the game series to get. John Conroe and Demon Accords. Anybody? Anybody? No, not ringing a bell. And with that, we are going to start off. So, what I usually do, what we're going to do, is we start off talking about where this is from and what this is. It's an animated series on Netflix. Started in 2018, I believe.
I think so.
That sounds about right.
And it's had 4 seasons. This is the last season. The show is an adaptation, a loose adaptation based on some of the content in the Castlevania game series. It features a new character, correct? Trevor is not in any of the games.
Really? I thought he was
Um,
in Bloodlines, but
I
I
think
might be.
Well, someone in the chat will correct me on that. It features Trevor Belmont of the long-running family of Belmonts that are vampire hunters or monster hunters and general bad thing hunters. And other characters, including Alucard, who's definitely from the game, the son of Dracula, half vampire, and Sifa, who is a scholar slash mage, powerful in water, fire, and apparently lightning magic.
hmm
Um, and a whole slew of other characters. It's a pretty deep roster of often very interesting characters, with fantastic voice actors in many cases. In most cases, I would say. Um, this final season, I don't think it's a giveaway because it was in the teasers. Well, we're spoiling things anyway, so it doesn't matter. Is mostly about attempts by various factions to bring Dracula back from hell, back from the dead, from being dead. English. And and that's pretty much the gist of the story. We'll get to all aspects of the story as we go along, I'm sure, when we're talking about things we liked and didn't and so on. Now, the one thing, there are going to be spin-offs of this. That's been announced. So there'll be other series around the Castlevania universe, but there will not be any more ongoing for this. And they haven't said this officially, but part of it is apparently because the writer of this, the incredibly talented comic book writer Warren Ellis, was credibly accused by quite a few people of sexual harassment in his workings in the comic book industry. And
You mean a comic book nerdy type is an edgelord?
well,
I'm so
honestly, he's not an edgelord. If you read any of his stuff, he's very much not that. He is one of those people, like we've talked about recently with Barrowman and Noel Clark and so on, who just can't divorce their lusts from their workplace, and that's a shame.
it is.
But anyway, that's why this is the final season. There will not be any more of this particular story arc. So we're going to start with things that worked for us. What did we like? What did they try to do and succeed? What was good about this series? And flipping the coin, we're going to start with Christina.
Okay. So I think this probably was my favorite season from them. I've liked all of them. I would have probably given them almost all tens, but this was for sure my favorite season. I loved the battles this season were absolutely fantastic. The battle with Carmilla was so well choreographed, and to me personally, I watch a lot of anime, and I feel like I haven't seen this good of a ending that made me feel like fulfilled in a while for modern anime anyway. And this got me. Like, I was crying the last two episodes. I was so happy at the ending. I would love more, but like I'm content with where it went. So it did a lot right in my opinion. In terms of characters, I loved Isaac's finishing arc. Trevor obviously had some amazing scenes, like when he fights death. That was just fantastic.
Yep.
And I was really glad that he kind of had like a shining moment in a way. And the whole like Sypha getting pregnant, I mean, that was kind of obvious. We knew that was going to happen because the last Belmont, it has to continue. Like, but it still made me happy that they like put that in, even if they weren't going to show any kids. Like, it made me happy that they made that point. I loved Greta, who is a character only for the anime. She was great. She was like really great addition, and I got like such like I guess bi vibes from her, and I was like, "You go, girl! Like, you are badass."
For those who may not have seen, and again, it's spoiling, so we're going to spoil it. Greta is a character introduced who is a human defending a village about 20 miles away from Alucard's castle, who sends a request for help to Alucard.
The Alucard.
Yeah, the Alucard.
Yes, Alucard. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounded like Claudia Black a bit. I might be wrong.
That what?
For
the voice actress for Greta. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Sounded a bit like Claudia Black, which.
No, it wasn't her. I do know that. I've got him up right here. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, and this character ultimately winds up becoming the love interest for Alucard.
Yes. She was great. She was so badass. I loved all the vampire coven of women that we saw in season 3. Striga will forever have my heart, and I will have the biggest crush on her. Probably out of all the characters in the show, Striga took it for me. When she broke out with the berserk armor, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I was like so happy. And just like she had the giant sword, and she went I'm trying to think of a better word. She went crazy on like the humans, and it was just like pure bloody like gory amazingness. Like it was such a good scene.
Just to jump back in here for Byron's sake, Marsha Thomason is the name of the voice
Ah,
actor for Greta. Um, apparently a regular on NCIS Los Angeles.
really?
Yeah, SEAL Team. Um, White Collar. So
I know White Collar.
a lot of TV work.
Okay.
Um, and then I guess like the other two things I thought were like my favorite was we got to see Alucard with wings, which I wasn't expecting. Like we saw the wolf transformation in season 2, and they bring that back in this season, but then he also gets wings, and I was like, this is so cool. Like this is
That's how
great.
you. That's how you got with a bang.
Yeah, you go out with a bang. Literally just sprout wings out of your back. There you go.
Yep.
Um, and then we had Isaac during his fight with Carmilla, like he had this I forget what they're called in the show now. They're not demons. They're
Oh, the night
the
creatures.
the night creatures. He had this one night
Yeah.
creature that was actually kind of like beautiful in its design. Like it was almost like angelic, and it was like this shield for him. And like the scenes with that particular night creature were so cool. I wasn't expecting that, and I was just like, I want to see more of this night creature now, this specific one, because it's just really,
Yeah.
really cool.
It's up on your screen right there, folks. This is them all rushing Carmilla. Isaac in the lead, and that flying
It was such
creature
a good
behind him
fight.
is the night creature that Christina is speaking of.
Yeah, that fight was amazing. I want to rewatch that episode just to see that fight
Mhm.
again.
Oh, and since you were talking about it, I forgot to put it up on the screen. That is Striga in the they don't call it day walker armor. I guess it's just day armor. Um,
Yeah, it looked so much like Guts's armor from Berserk,
Yeah.
and I got such Berserk vibes. It made me very happy. And
Yep.
then even like going to the fight with Carmilla too, the scene where Isaac's walking up the stairs and it's just covered in blood. I was like, this is a beautiful like screenshot right here.
yeah. Now I will,
I,
for all of how well they did that, and this is one of my little nitpicks, so I'll just jump it in here. When he comes back down the stairs, so one, how does the blood flow up the stairs and then down the other side? But anyway,
Quit questioning magic.
quick, yeah, exactly.
magic vampire blood.
When it's a wide scene, they're walking toward Carmilla. There's no ripples. There's nothing happening in the blood beneath him. It's just a red floor. Every other point where you see him step, it's really well animated. It's, he's walking through a thick fluid. Except for that one wide scene, and I'm assuming that was just like, well, it's a wide scene. We don't need to do this.
Yeah. I I didn't mind it because like it gave me like Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust vibes. There's like a very similar scene in
Yeah, I
that
can see
one,
that.
where again they're actually fighting a character named Carmilla, at the end, and there's a scene where like the stairs are just covered in like blood, and it reminded me of that, so I appreciated that scene a lot.
So, influenced by anime, Berserk, Vampire Hunter
Vampire
D,
Hunter D
Bloodlust.
Bloodlust, yeah,
Absolutely.
We'll get to some others.
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
Castlevania the video game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, because that's what it's based on. Silly.
Any move.
Other things that that worked for you that you think need to be pointed out as stuff that was good.
um the twist at the end, like I kind of saw it with what's his name,
Bonnie.
Bill Nighy's character,
Saint Germain.
Oh.
Saint Germain.
Oh
I
yes,
kind of
that's
saw
right.
it, but like not his I guess
Now, which twist?
betrayal,
Which
but
twist
the
at the end?
death,
Which
the death
twist?
character
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
being the seer from the beginning episodes.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it, but then like later on, I didn't think they were gonna go that way. And then they brought back the episode where they find the statue of death, and it's Death, which was that seer character he saw. And I was like, oh, I like that. I
Yeah.
thought I hoped they would do something because they made a
Yeah.
whole point about it.
So, it's another nitpick, and this is a story construction nitpick. If Death had to use a mirror to get into Saint Germain's bubble of protectiveness, yet was also a seer that can work the infinite corridor. How did Death get into the infinite corridor if it can't work it? And if it can work it, why would it need the mirror?
See, I thought it was that it was in it originally and was just lying to him.
Right, but if Death can get into the infinite corridor, why would it need a mirror then to get into... It could literally open a gateway to anywhere. But anyway, so that's another nitpick.
But yeah, those are my positives.
Calculus meme, like...
Yeah, right. Math starts appearing.
Magic. Well, yeah, it is magic. I mean, we know it's magic. Internally consistent magic is a good thing. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I guess they just had to kind of like nerf Death in some way. You know, like it had to be nerfed. Otherwise, it was like you can't kill it then.
Yeah.
So that was probably just all right. Let's nerf it. It can't use mirrors. I don't know.
It was an attempt, definitely. But, you know, they were trying to tap a lot of loose ends.
Well, yeah, I'll get into that too. All right, so all set. Move on to Byron. Byron, your things that worked, things that you liked. Okay. What was good?
Well, okay. So one of the big things for me was how Death was presented, because, like, I don't like from what I've played of the games, I was always baffled. Like, how does a mere vampire have control of the sovereign of death, the god of death, like, and the fact that he's like, oh, he's more like a homunculus for the spirit of death makes a lot more sense. It's like he's not actually death; he's just a piece. Like, he's just a piece of him. Like that little. Like I'm not the biggest fan of exposition, but I'll accept it in that case because the Belmonts know everything there is to know about the Dark Ones and the undead and yada yada yada.
And it was really fast, well-placed exposition that worked at that point in the story. You know, it wasn't like, oh, let me tell you, let me open up the tome. No.
Yes. Let me tell you the great legend of death. It's like, no.
Right.
This is what it is.
It's like, this is important. Now because you need to know why we can fight that thing.
Yes. Malcolm McDowell's performance through the entirety.
Yes.
Like, especially hearing him do a Cockney accent. That made that made my entire weekend, because it's just like, I'm kind of just sitting there like, will you shut up, dude? But at the same time, it's just like, I love hearing you say it because he was just so hilarious.
Every F-bomb out of his mouth was art.
Fucking funny.
Art.
And then you have the Russian vampire who's just like, I don't
loved him. I loved the Russian one.
Yes.
So, you know, that is actually the American actor Titus Welliver.
What's he done?
Never broke, Lost, the last 2 seasons of Lost. He was Black of the Black and White Stones.
Okay.
And a whole bunch of others. It's one of those pictures you look at him and go, oh, that dude. He is in a pretty popular Hulu cop investigator series recently, which I can't think of the name of. But anyway, character actor that's been around forever, American as they get, and he never broke that accent. I was shocked.
It was good.
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive. You know, I'm going to gush over Greta because, you know, to quote many soul hip hop artists, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Yes, I was kind of I the moment she came on the screen, I'm just like, I am your bitch now. You can step on me. It's like, forget 9-foot vampire waifu. Greta owns me, and I will do whatever she says. I will kill whoever she wants me to kill. Her enemies are my enemies.
And just make sure that people who haven't seen it are not making the comparison. She's pretty much a normal sized human. She's tough.
Yeah.
And she's pretty
Yes.
buff, even though you never really see her. You know, just the way her character in her clothes, you can tell she's pretty strong.
She's like
yes.
a little taller than Sypha.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I don't think quite as tall as Alucard. So
No, he's
Yeah.
very tall though.
just a little bit. Like she's just a bit shorter. I like. I really loved how like all the main cast, how their arcs were closed up. Like the last season had a few problems for me because it was kind of just.
Yeah.
It was kind of just everyone is sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Like, yeah, you had the Saint Germain arc, but I really was. I found myself doing a lot of waiting last season for things to happen.
Yep.
But in the end, it all paid off. Bill Nighy's Saint Germain did not disappoint either way. That's actually the most like those moments where he's raising his voice was like the most enthusiasm I've ever heard him express in any role.
I don't know. He got really pissed in the first Underworld movie.
Yes.
So he got a little intense in that one. But yeah,
I love him as Saint Germain.
he usually
Yes.
plays pretty laid back.
Yeah, he's usually the laid back cool guy, and that's what I like about him. But I like that he has that range.
Yep.
I kind of wish one of my favorite parts from season 3 was Trevor's "That's better than sex" line. I kind of wish they had revisited that because I just love that entire exchange where like Cypher was just like, "Oh really?" Maybe I'm like, "Oh really?" Like, no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
They had like a sort of similar
Yeah.
thing in this one too.
Oh yeah, and like the first couple of episodes where that scene where Cypher's swearing, and she's like, "This
I
is
love
your
that.
fault. It's fucking fault." I'm just like, you could choose not to swear.
And I guess it's just occurred to me that I'm trying to remember a point in this 4th season where Trevor not only doesn't get drunk, or Trevor actually takes a drink.
He didn't. He was sober this season, I think.
I think so. So I guess it's not
Think
better
of it,
than
he
sex.
was. Gee.
So
He was his
That's
most
fair.
badass when sober.
yeah,
Yes. There were a couple of points I wanted to make. The Sakuga, it was just like, mwah.
yeah,
That was some top tier end of series Sakuga. Like, we're talking like last couple episodes of X-Men quality animation in those.
Mhm.
And I was like, I was here for it. We'd be here all night if I pointed out every single example that made the season great. Wow, the music always on point.
Cool.
And one last point I want to make. Carmella's sister, whose name escapes me.
Lenore or
Yes,
Morona?
Lenore.
Okay.
Lenore. Okay, well, second last point. Lenore was she went out like a boss. Like
I
this
got
is
sad.
like
She did,
If you-
and I really liked the teasing, back and forth between her and Hector.
Yes.
I thought that
I was reminded. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was reminded of John Wick 2 when like the scene. I cannot remember the lady's name, but the one that John was sent to kill at the beginning of the movie. How
Oh, yeah.
she's just how she like gets in her tub
Yeah.
and ends her own life because it's just like, fuck you. I'm gonna do it on my own terms. It was the same energy where she's just like, I'm not going to be anyone's slave.
Yeah.
And it's just like, look at the sun. And I'm just like, I love you so much.
Sparkly
then
vampire.
she-
No.
Yeah. And last point, Striga, because
Streak
I
is
love
so
my I love my muscular chunky waifus. I like the buff chicks. I like the idea of them being the place where I'm meant to die.
I just want
Uh,
a spin off of Striga. Like, just give me more.
Yes.
I mean,
Just
she's a
like,
vampire, so chances are the death is not the one you think. But yeah.
let me have my fun. I want her to crush me with those monster thighs.
There you go.
All right.
All right. So, pretty much everything everybody said, yes. My particular points, and I'm going to go backward because these are the ones I remember. As Byron said, the Sakuga. So, the animation of the fights in this series went from, not infinitely, but amazingly better than any fight scene in season 3 in the very first episode to the fight at the pretty much the end, the fight at the penultimate episode between, well, actually starting from when Alucard, Trevor, and Sifa get to the the final vampire barrier, the vampire witch, whatever things they are that created the Rebus.
Yes.
And Dragon, the big Mongol type vampire. From that point on, and then ultimately, amazingly so in the fight with Death, it reminded me at its best of the fights in the last episode of Mob Psycho 100.
Ooh.
The movement of the camera, the use of heavy line work.
I loved that.
It really looked like they had taken those final fights and given them to different key animators than anything they've done in the past 3.8 episodes or seasons. And I was shocked.
They definitely went all out last season, for sure.
They went all out, and it's the same director throughout the entire thing, from season 1 to now. So 1, he either really, really grew, or 2, they farmed some of this stuff out to other key animators because they had a tight production schedule. Glitch Trap, welcome to the chat. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know that, and I've not seen it in anything I've looked up. But it really looks so amazingly different that I almost think they did. That they hired key animators that they knew had this kind of experience. It really is worth watching just for that. But we were talking about what Christina started off talking about comparing these episodes or seasons. Last season was absolutely hands down the worst one, in my opinion. It was weak sauce. And looking at them up until last season, I viewed this as season 1 and season 2 was essentially one long season that they cut, the first few episodes off of, because it was a really short season, if you remember the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 4 episodes.
4 episodes to see whether or not it would work. And if you view it that way, season 1 was a great, or season 1 and 2 was a great single season. Although I still complain bitterly about Peter Stormare as the Viking vampire. I love Peter Stormare and everything he does live. I just
liked him.
Hated his voice work.
I did too.
I loved Godbrand.
He's a great character
he was
concept.
So annoying.
Which is what he was supposed to be, and I didn't mind the fact that his character was annoying. I mean, there's plenty of them in this whole series. I just really didn't like Stormare's voice work. And which is shocking because I love him in anything live.
For me, I had a hard time separating him from the character he plays in God of War as well.
I don't know that. I can see that, and if you listen to him, it's like, okay, well, that's Lucifer in Constantine. That's Chernobog in American Gods.
Hearing a Russian guy do a southern accent is that's something. That's all I gotta say.
But so it was the third season. I thought when I watched it was essentially, half filler and half moving the main plot along, because they do have the Saint Germain stuff, and we do find out in the third season, not third episode, third season, in the third season, that there is a movement that has started to try to bring back Dracula, which is the primary driver of this season. But now that I have watched season 4, I realized that season 3 was not filler, and I thought basically the Hector and Isaac arcs were filler in season 3. Some of them were good, some of the parts of it, but that struck me mostly as filler. They were setting up season 4, as was the Trevor and Sifa arc, and technically the Alucard stuff, but, not really. I mean,
That Alucard part was so sad.
Well, Alucard's story in season 3 is a kind of just a standalone, let's let Emo Boy go over here and get screwed. Well, literally and figuratively.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, all of that was setting up season 4. And looking back at it, I kind of have to go, okay, well, it sucked to watch it, but they paid it off. So season 4 is, as has been said, an amazing payoff. It really, with my nitpicks that I've already mentioned, there's a few other things, it really wonderfully pays off as a finale to an entire series. I really like the fact that, they moved Alucard out of, Emo Boy, drink myself silly, live in my castle. Oh God, that got so tiring in season 3.
I did love those scenes where he's just. I did love those scenes where he's just like, "Oh God, I'm becoming Belmont."
Yes, that's so funny. Sorry, Christina.
I was just gonna say, but he had the puppets. He had those little puppet dolls. I loved them.
I mean, they were nice.
They got burned in season 4.
There were nice little things about it. Nice, there are nice elements about all of the arcs. And again, Hector and Isaac's arcs are, frankly, the best things about season 3.
I loved Isaac's arc.
Yes, and Isaac's arc throughout from 2 to 4 is fantastic. Which I'll bring up in my critiques when we get there. So the animation is fantastic. The voice acting is even better than it has been in quite some time. The Sakaga, particularly the fight animation, the fluidity of it is, almost better than anything that Netflix has done with animation. I mean, my
really
God,
is.
you compare it to the
Blood of Zeus.
Yep.
I thought we weren't going to talk about that one anymore.
Well, sometimes you got to bring it up to slap it down.
I guess.
So other really good things I like about it. I thought that Ellis's, and again, apologies for people who don't want us to talk about somebody who's this problematic, but he did write everything. So I thought that Ellis's diversions into sort of philosophical dialogue were way more engaging this season than they have been pretty much all along. There were some in season 3, particularly again with Isaac. But everybody, when they, sort of drifted off into those, let's just sit down and talk about the meaning of stuff, they were really interesting. It was kind of like, okay, this is cool. I'll sit here and watch these people talk. Yeah, I like this. As opposed to in previous seasons, 2 in particular a lot, but really 3, it was like, yeah, okay. Get through this and let's start biting people or stabbing people or something. Come on. So those are my big likes. And this isn't really I guess it's a like, because imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But if we're doing the let's compare inspiration from anime. So we already mentioned Berserk. There is one shot where Striga's day armor is getting a reflection of the setting sun off of the side of her face, and it's moving, and there's a light reflection streak that goes by, and it's like, oh look, it's Goblin Slayer. I mean, it is 100% the mask, The way the
Oh
light moves, even the animation is like, wow, they just lifted that right from Goblin Slayer. And it's, yeah, they made enough changes. The armor looks different enough. It's yellow because it's reflecting off a yellow piece and a yellow setting sun, not Goblin Slayer's red eye. It's on the
Hmm.
other side.
That Zaku eye.
Yeah. Um, so so we've got at least three at this point. And you could just go down the list.
You could say Star Wars. Because,
Well,
I mean, Trevor and Sypha's confessions at the end was straight
oh
out of
yes,
Star Wars.
but I like the
Like,
yes,
fact
I
that
love
they.
you.
absolutely
I
was.
know.
I love the fact
I
that they
know.
each got to say "I know" at
Yeah.
different times. It's like
Yeah.
yes,
I liked it. I didn't mind that it was like almost a straight copy from
Yep.
the Han Solo and Leia confessions,
yeah,
because they took it but they made it their own. And for
Most sincere form of flattery.
yeah,
exactly. Like
and
I
for
said,
like
yeah,
Sypha and Trevor have that kind of relationship too, where it also works better to have them be kind of snarky at each other than just straight being like, "I love you, oh, I love you too." Like it wouldn't have worked as well.
yeah. So those are my primary likes. Uh, it was, in my mind, the best season hands down, no question. Um, and so now we're moving on to dislikes. What didn't work for you? What do you think that they failed at, Christina?
So one of my favorite characters since three, because she was introduced in three, was actually Lenore. And like I loved her because she's like this tiny, like the tiniest of the vampires, which already spoke to my heart, being also a small person. Uh, and she was like, because she's not physically strong, her whole thing is that she's the diplomat. She
Yes.
is strong with her knowledge and her wit and everything. And she proves that with Hector, how she makes him basically her pet. And then in season four, I feel like she lost that in season four. Like she was so strong in season three with like her control over Hector, and then season four she kind of lost it, and it made me kind of sad. I mean, I got that she was also, worried about Carmilla kind of starting to go crazy herself, so she was like torn in between. But I felt like she wasn't as confident or as strong in herself as she was in three, and it made me sad
Mm.
that one of my favorite characters was kind of like, I felt almost like washed over for other characters.
I would argue that maybe she kind of knew that things. She kind of like part of her just felt something off in her bones, like it was all going to come crashing down on her.
Yeah,
That's just me. Like
I mean, she spells that out very clearly. That she has no role to play in the world that they're in
mm,
right now. When it
mhm.
comes to the Four Sisters, that
yeah,
she's kind of uh,
her job was done.
yeah, her job was done.
Yeah, but like the whole thing with like how Hector was able to like plant those little like runes all over and everything, and how shocked she was that he like betrayed her. I was like, aren't you supposed to be the one who should have seen this coming? Like Carmilla saw it coming, and you're supposed to be smarter than her. Like,
Yeah,
why didn't you see this coming? That like stuff like that. I was like, this doesn't seem like the same Lenore from season three to me.
yeah.
Who like was like 10 steps ahead of Hector. Now Hector's like 10 steps ahead of her. And I was like, what happened? Like, um, so that bothered me. Um, I felt like I loved how Saint Germain was kind of like the villain in this, but I also thought his reasoning was a little bit weak because
A
how
little
I
bit.
got it was just he just really wanted to like screw some woman, so like he did all of this just to screw someone. I was like, that's kind I I guess I get it because like there's been villains for less reasons in other media,
The
but I don't
twins,
know. I like
the tweens.
yeah, like he was so good in season three, like a good person. So I felt like it was like we need a villain. I guess Saint Germain,
Oh.
almost a little bit.
And I agree with that. When he actually blatantly declared that the reason he was doing this is because I'm gonna get to have sex again for
Yeah,
after
he
however
literally
many-
says that.
I was
Yep.
like, you're not going to at least pretend that this is, a romantic obsession. It's like, no, he's horny on main for this woman that never gets a speaking role.
We don't even really we hardly
No.
see her. We saw her
Right.
like 2 scenes.
Right.
Has no
And
name.
she looked very. She looked like a palette swap for Greta.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
did. I
kinda.
noticed that too.
Yeah.
So that like kind of bothered me. I mean, he was good as a villain. Like I kind of liked him evil, but I felt like his motivation was weak. Um, and then like the homunculus with Dracula and his wife bothered me on so many levels.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, these are two characters who love each other so much that he went to war with humanity because he missed his wife, and then you're forcing them to be merged together. It bothered me. I didn't like that. I did
No, I can
not
see
like
not.
that.
I can see not liking that. That's a personal taste thing. Not that it didn't.
It wasn't no, the actual like idea of it was, I thought, kind of okay, but like I don't know, it bothered me.
Yeah.
It was my
Which I think it
personal
was
nitpick.
intended to.
Yeah. And then I didn't mind that they got brought back, but I thought it was weird how like Alucard kind of couldn't sense that his dad was still alive at the end. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Although when that happened, they were all right there in the middle of this immense battle.
yeah. And we don't know where they ended up appearing.
Oh, I
They
see.
could
You
be
mean at the
across
very,
world.
very end, the sort of
Yeah, because
yeah.
you see Dracula and his wife, and they have their own bodies, which I want to know how they have bodies
So,
when there was
yeah.
only one body.
That's definitely in
That was
in my list of what the
yeah,
I
because
mean,
they had parts
Science
from
and
men.
magic.
Yep,
Yeah,
magic.
I mean, they had like male and female body parts. So I mean, but it was like half. So how did you get 2 bodies from only
and
half
that body
of
was
each
destroyed.
body?
That body was destroyed. There's no.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
there's no. That body was destroyed by holy water and the glaive, and
I think
Sifa's
the
fire
whip
magic.
too, right? Yeah.
No, he didn't
Yeah,
use
by
the
a
whip.
lot
He
of-
just threw the. Oh, he did.
Yeah, that's
He
right,
hit
he
it with
didn't
the
have
whip too. I think you're right.
Yeah. I love that. I love the Morning Star.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like that bothered me. I'm trying to think what else. I I also thought it was weird. My one critique was Striga, and I cannot remember her counterpart's
Sorry,
name.
Morona.
Yes. They felt
Morana.
Carmilla die.
I got the
Yeah.
vowels wrong. Morana.
So they felt Carmilla die, and like they were like, all right, let's leave. We're not like kind of have to worry about her anymore. But like they didn't feel Lenore die, so they kind of just left her. Like they didn't even bother to check if Lenore was alive, and I was like, wasn't she important too, you guys?
Yeah, that
Like
was
you're
more
not
of a
gonna check if
plot
Lenore's
writing.
alive?
Yeah.
I mean, they say that she must be dead if Carmilla is, but like if you sensed Carmilla and you all had a bond together, you would have sensed Lenore dying. So you didn't sense Lenore dying.
I mean, true. I get the impression that they sensed Carmilla dying because Carmilla exploded.
Yeah.
It was such a massive magical event that they felt it as far away as they were. But you're right. It was still kind of really okay.
You're not gonna double check? Like I thought
Yeah.
you guys were like sisters.
It's like, oh yeah, Lenora must be dead too. Let's go to McDonald's.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of a, not a nice move there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other critiques?
No, I mean those are probably the only ones I could really think of. I generally liked the season, so it wasn't that much. It was just mostly like Lenore's characterization, I feel like.
Yeah.
It was my biggest, and the homunculus.
Byron, what did you think didn't work? What didn't you like?
I have a pretty small list myself. A lot of the plot holes that you guys pointed out, like they definitely irked me, but not to the point that I found myself taken out of the story. So I feel in the end they were moot points. Uh, I I'm really upset. I'm having a hard time like
If you
pinning
don't,
down one like major issue. It was just
if you don't
I,
got
I thought
nothing,
of
you don't got nothing. That's
I thought
fine.
of two more that confused me.
Okay.
sure.
One was like, can someone explain the horse? Like, is this like some magical horse that brings dead people? Like, what is what they did not explain the horse?
That didn't bother me so much. I just think
Yeah, just
I
it's
just
just
thought
a you good.
it was just more of a running gag in my head, so I didn't really
Yeah, I just got
split
it's
my
a
mind.
well-trained horse. Okay.
Yeah.
And number 2.
Oh, and I forgot it, but
Okay.
because the horse was bothering.
All right, we're getting
Yeah,
long, so I'm
that's
going to jump in here.
understandable.
So first off, let me say, going into this, all of my critiques are critiques after the fact. When I look back and went, there's very little that took me out of it. The one I've already mentioned that really just sort of surprised me was that weird lack of any animation in the blood when, everybody, like this crowd is literally walking through it. That was the only thing that while I was watching it, I kind of went, really? And everything else was after the fact. I kind of went, why did that do that? And this is, aside from the first 4 episode season, this is the first season where, so I watched the first 2 episodes yesterday morning, had to get a bunch of stuff done, to get a post up and so on, and then started the rest of them at 7 o'clock or so in the evening, thinking I can finish up today. And stopped at like 11:15 when the whole thing was done. I haven't binged a Netflix show like that in a long time. So
It's very binge worthy.
it
really is.
caught me certainly by episode 3 and held on for the remainder of the episodes. So having said that, my critiques are not, don't watch this show by all means. That's not what I mean. But I did have a couple of problems with some nitpicking kind of details. A lot of the structure stuff that left things hanging or introduced things. The thing that kills Death at the end, the dagger, is a Deus Ex Machina. We know nothing about it.
Yes, absolutely.
That was the other thing I was going to talk about. Trevor has like this. He's been rolling d20s, finding random objects, and no one explains how he just keeps finding these like items he needs.
I like the idea that he
Stone of
finds.
Agimoto.
Yeah, I like the idea that he finds the chakra glaive, the thing, because that's from one of his ancestors. Like, okay, so that's cool. That ties into the game. I like that. But, the fact that he finds the gems that have power and then finds a dagger that can use it and knows what it is and doesn't explain it,
How convenient.
literally.
I know.
So, he kind of explains it at the end, but even that doesn't explain it. So that, there are a lot of those things where we don't ultimately find out really, like, as you point out, how in the world do Dracula and Lisa exist after they get their souls stuck into a sewed together half man, half woman Rebus body to try to get their souls to merge to become, it's a long thing. And are
That
killed.
scarred me for life.
And that thing is killed and their souls don't rush back to hell or wherever, they find their own, or they get reincarnated into their exact same bodies. Anyway,
The good fairy gave them their real bodies.
exactly, the good fairy, the blue fairy.
The blue fairy.
So the one major structural problem I had with this, looking back on it, and this goes all the way back to the beginning of season 3 and really to season 2, is that this becomes a series where we have 2 never connecting storylines. They are 2 completely different stories, certainly by the beginning of season 3, that both have resolutions, but never come back together again except for the completely almost pointless one scene in which Hector talks via a mirror to Varney and gives him the last thing he needs to try to, use a mirror to get into the resurrection attempt. And that's it. That's where Hector and Isaac's storyline, comes together with Trevor, Alucard, and Sifa's storyline. It's like bounce, and then both of them resolve, whether you like the way they resolve or not. Like the fact that at the very end, where Lenora gives herself up to the sun, they mention about how Hector is wandering around the castle and is really. We never see Hector after the battle with Carmilla.
No.
What did he do? Hector says he's still in the castle and is really happy. Okay.
He still has all those pamphlets and everything too, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, the storylines get mostly resolved, but they never come back together. So you're watching a series in which you've got two parallel stories that have to be resolved, and maybe Ellis had this coming together in the 5th season if he had, if he knew that was going to be possible, or maybe he was just fine with that idea, that these are two stories that were characters who were connected at one point, never going to come back together. And if they didn't have that moment with Hector and Varney, there literally would be zero connection between these two storylines.
I'm like trying to look back in my head, and I don't think the trio ever actually met Hector.
Yeah, you're right. You are right, but he was part of Dracula's castle, and therefore their stories sort of connected around Dracula.
Yeah, they never actually met Hector though, so
right.
They'd have no reason to go after him because they don't even know he exists.
Right, and in which case, why not have the story work its way so that Hector and Isaac's story comes back to them? Because that makes sense. That's a cyclical storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
That might have been an end game, but we'll never know now.
Right.
They have more connection in game.
Yeah. So that was my one biggest sort of construction criticism, and again, it didn't stop me from just binging the hell out of this thing because it's really exciting. The only other nitpick, and there are so many nitpicks around death and that to talk about, but my only other nitpick is, so we're told, Death tells Saint Germain that the reason he wants Dracula back is because he eats souls, but he can't kill people to get them. He needs somebody to kill them. Now, it's my interpretation of that was that means that he doesn't kill people, or he can't kill people. Which obviously isn't true. He tries to kill Trevor at the end, but and we don't ever see Varney kill anybody until they get into the underground court, and then he just really randomly just kills an old man and kills a guard, and I'm like, wait a minute. Is it that Death can't kill, or that he can't eat the things he kills? Or the souls of the things.
But then who eats the things he kills?
Right. Well, I would assume those souls go to their reward. Like Dracula and Lisa went to hell, and somebody in the series would probably go to heaven. Not really sure who.
Sifa.
That's a lot to wrap my head around.
So that just sort of struck. It's like, what's the story with Death? Can he kill? Can he not kill? What's going on here? And one would assume he can kill, because otherwise, why would he even bother fighting Trevor?
Yeah.
But that was it. That's really my only critiques. Some minor. There's a couple of moments of animation where somebody's like turning their head sideways, and it really looks like somebody literally just drew a profile shot instead of trying to get 92 degree or something interesting. It's just like, okay.
Was anyone else kind of like sort of bored with, I forget the character's name, the one that brings them to the underground court?
Oh, Zamfir.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of got on my nerves. I kind of did not like their scenes. I was like, they're annoying.
I agree. That was if there was one plot point and character that they just stretched out way too long, it was Zamfir and the reveal of the fact that who even knows who those? I mean, that town or that city wasn't, as Trevor points out, the a nation state of its own. So why did they have a king and queen? But anyway, um,
Well, they've been dead for those bodies were mummified for a
oh yeah, they've been dead for a long time.
Yeah.
And there are other little story
I want to
elements.
touch on that more when we get the themes.
Yeah, which we should probably do right now. I'm just going to do one more thing. If they're in the underground court and they're completely surrounded by water, and they show that Sifa can manipulate water, not just make it, because she does that once, brings up some holy water.
She's the avatar.
Why doesn't she just bring up all that holy water and just splash right up against?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Stop with the logic.
Anyway, but again, that's like a nitpick. It literally did not stop me from just loving, the heck out of this particular season. All right, messages, themes, tone. Did this come out or come together with a consistent message and or theme, Christina?
I think so. I think there's like a lot of themes you could do. You could do like you could do like, humanity's actually not as bad as you think sometimes. You could do like religion makes problems.
Well, that one right there is overarching theme, I think, for the entire season or series. But yeah,
religion causes issues.
Yeah,
Shocker.
thanks to.
That there. I'm trying to think of themes. There's a lot of different ones.
Well, if they didn't give you one that like jumps right out,
the religion one is definitely the one that jumps out entirely. I guess like the theme of like redemption, that like everyone had like sort of a redemption in this season too.
Oh yeah.
That'd probably be the other big one, would be like redemption.
Yeah.
For sure.
You said moving forward, right?
Excuse me?
Christina, you said moving forward, right?
Yeah, like moving forward, redemption.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm just making sure.
So Byron.
Oh yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of that. Like, just forward momentum was definitely one of the bigger themes, because this is a journey's end, and the future's not promised. And that was like, it was while it was a hopeful ending, it felt like an ending.
Yep.
And a lot of loose ends were tied up. Some new questions were raised.
There was a full hero's journey.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone came home in the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was like the big thing for me. Is just like Trevor and Cypher finally have a place where they belong, not just Alucard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so even continuing on with the redemption, moving forward concepts, I think that the biggest aspect of that, or maybe sub-theme, or however you want to put it, is the idea that you have to become active in your own future.
Yeah.
And that's stated right at the very beginning, that they've been just wasting their time. Trevor and Sifa particularly state it, that they've been just wasting their time reacting to all the things going on around them, as opposed to acting to try to either prevent something or save something. And even though Alucard doesn't say it in that so many words, that's exactly what his arc is all about in this season. Is stopping reacting to his role in the death of his father and in the portrayal by the Japanese, I can't remember their names, in season 3, to becoming active in trying to do something about, about this, the situation that they're all in. And Greta is a huge part in getting him to that point in his life, which is a great thing about that character.
Learning to trust again, that forward momentum, because season 3 was, this is going back towards gripes for a minute. I feel like Alucard's arc could have been more fleshed out in that sense.
In season 3? Yeah.
Oh, season 4.
Oh, in season 4? Yeah, I guess. I mean, everybody could have used more time to, to have their characters. The fact that they had the kind of character growth that we finally got in season 4, even if at times it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, like Lenora's character growth change, it was pretty amazing. So, you got to give them credit for that. So yeah, I think that's really the main thing, and of course, again, the overarching theme or message from this whole series is organized power of any kind is bad, whether it's from somebody that's traditionally viewed as good or evil. In this case, it's the church, religion is just as bad as the organization of the vampires. And so on. If you put power in the hands of a group, it's always going to get bad. Power in the hands of individuals depends on the individual, and I think that's a pretty clear message throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, throughout the entire series, absolutely.
Yeah. So that said, let's quickly wrap up with recommendations or no, and a numerical rating if you want to give it one. Christina.
Definitely recommend. I actually, after watching the season, I instantly showed it to friends, and I was like, "Watch this show!" So now they're obsessed with it, and they've been sending me memes and stuff like, "Oh, look at this!" So, highly recommend. I personally would give it a 10. Because just the little flaws, I feel like were me purposely trying to find flaws in it. Like I said in the beginning, this is one of the best endings to an anime I've seen in a while, for modern anime at least. So I was very fulfilled from this. So I would give it a 10.
Very cool, Byron.
I I had a hard time finding problems with this, definitely, because I'm repeating myself. It was a pretty blemish free display. I love the way the character arts wound up. I loved a lot of the characterizations. The art is always on point. The sakuga, the music, all that good stuff. If you've been especially if you've been following this from the very beginning, I highly recommend it. I the fact my one grabber side, like about certain characters not getting that much needed fleshed out time, I would give it a 9.5.
Cool. So mine's going to be a little bit more complex because I think it has to divide. You can't watch season 4 without having watched previous seasons. It just won't work. And because previous seasons are so problematic, I'm going to give the entire series a 6 out of 10. If you skip season 3, and I 100% believe you can skip the entire season 3. You will not miss anything, except that's probably the one that's heaviest on all the sex. So you'll miss Alucard having a bisexual 3-way. You'll miss, but anyway.
Lenore being a dominatrix.
But anyway.
Trapping Hector.
Yeah. Even all of that said, if you skip season 3 and watch seasons 1 and 2 and 4, I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. Mostly on the strength of season 4. It's so good. So as far as a recommendation goes, I'd say yes, watch the whole thing, do some knitting during season 3, or just skip season 3. That's it, folks. That's our take on Castlevania. I'd like to thank everybody who's in the chat. Thank you all for your comments and being there and watching and listening. Let's get some quick goodbyes. Christina.
Well, I had fun. I, again, highly recommend Castlevania, and also play the games if you haven't. They're really good. You'll see more. Hopefully, we'll get to see more of Alucard if they continue him, and maybe we'll see Trevor and Sypha's kids, or prequel. I don't know what they'll do, but they'll do more, they said.
Yep.
Again, if you want to find me, you could find me at Chocobo Butt on any social media. And yeah, I definitely recommend.
Cool. Byron.
Uh, yeah, guys. Again, same sentiments as Chocobo here. Loved it. Loved talking about it. Great time tonight, guys. You can find me again on YouTube, Byron D0. Check out some of my latest work. I'm really proud of it. More to come.
Cool.
Night.
All right, folks, and that is our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. That's up on your screen right there. Check it out if you want to. Please support us. If you feel like it's something you want to do, we've got 2 low-dollar tiers, and that's it. We don't have all sorts of fancy things that you have to read up and check out on.
Yet.
Well, and probably never, to be honest. We want to, our idea for Patreon is if you want to support us and help us get out there and cover cons when cons are now coming back, thank God, then, please do it and allow us to do other things like this, more content. Check out patreon.com/nerdcaliber. And I'm going to throw this out. It just occurred to me now, and this isn't the show where we do a could we please or could we not or anything, but I'm trying to think of what her Miss Kit's Cosplay and Crafts. So Kit Espada is a New England cosplayer and a haunter and a genius craftsperson who had a house fire just a few days ago that damaged the house enough that they're not living in it, but mostly completely wiped out their various sheds and tents, and where she stored more than a decade, probably decades worth of brilliant crafting stuff, haunting stuff, like full-size Skeksis costumes, Alf puppets.
Oh, wow.
So Miss Kit's Cosplay and Crafts, there will be a link there to the GoFundMe. If you want to check it out, please do. If you can help and want to, please do. It's one of the saddest losses of creative brilliance I've seen, on a personal scale in a long time. And having said that, on that down note, thank you all for joining us again. Let's see. Upcoming Monday is Anime Octane. We'll be talking about To Your Eternity. Again, spoiler, because, we should probably hold this until the show, but yeah, go watch it. It's brilliant. Nerd Week Live next Tuesday, of course. New stuff is already dropping in, as it always does. All sorts of nerd news that happens, through the week. And next week is... I should have checked this before I got online. Next week is Cruella.
Oh, right.
Cruella premieres just a couple of days.
I think it's out already.
Oh, it's out already?
Yeah,
I think it's out already.
Yep.
So Cruella is out. So next week will be Cruella, folks. The live action Emma Stone version. So if you've seen it, or if you don't mind spoilers, check us out next Thursday. Thank you all. Good